Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching Healthy Alternative. Today, I want to talk about the benefits of Michael, and today we're going to be talking about...
Today we'll be making one of my favorite soups.
Welcome to the
tomato
JR72 Challenge.
I am Animated Mel, and I am your mental and wellness coach for
As always, perfection is not needed, but consistency.
We must first lovingly accept what is. You can't heal a body you hate.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you to all of you all for coming. This community is designed to support you in that time. It's really to utilize when things are bad and when you're at your lowest.
I started to learn about emotions. I started to learn about finding root causes, right? Starting to understand addiction and how addiction is not, once again, the issue that we are using a negative stimulus as a coping mechanism.
Part of my mission is to make sure people know that everything we need comes in a natural form. It's already here for us.
I am determined. I am strong. And I am ready.
We must first lovingly accept what is. I often say, you can't heal a body you hate.
This is healthy blood cells. And that's what we're aiming for. So you can see the contrast. Okay? What you do matters.
Thank you all for coming. Be blessed.
We're going to bring up your next speaker. That's going to be the wonderful, magnificent Chris James.
If you talk about how much you hate your fat, your body has been working all this time to keep you alive. I don't think anybody in my circle understands impossible. Sorry about that. I forgot to add myself to the live stream. I got everything else going except me. All right, y'all, let me know if you can hear me. If you can see me, everything is good. Before we get started, I've got a interesting stream for you all here on Christmas Day 2024. As long as you guys can hear me and see me, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, good. So, man, this is going to be a cool conversation, a cool perspective, I think. It's something that I do in my own personal life as I look and I reframe issues that happen. And I figured, you know, I was having a conversation with my brother earlier and we kind of got on this topic of problems. Yeah, and I know that we typically talk about the benefit of weight loss, like why you should lose weight. The reality is, for a lot of people, there are many reasons why they don't want to lose weight. There's many fears associated with weight loss, especially when we're talking about on that scale of, 100 pounds or more that you want to lose. And I want to talk about why you should not lose 100 pounds. Before we get started tonight, I do want to let you all know that if you are interested in losing 100 pounds, if you're here because you're intrigued and you just want to know what curveball Chris gonna throw my way, we'll get into that. But if you are interested in losing 100 pounds, we've got the 21-day challenge coming up where we're going to be talking about how to accomplish that in the best way possible. So I do want to let you all know that that's starting January 5th. And I'm going to put the link for that in the comment section. And then that's pretty much it. We're going to get going. So let's frame this call. I have had the opportunity to work very closely with men and women on their weight loss journey, and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are a lot of problems that come along with losing large amounts of weight, especially when you do it in the time frames that we're talking about. And I like to be balanced. So what I did was I thought of a couple different things that I have personally experienced or other people have experienced, brought to my attention, of reasons why you should not lose large amounts of weight. The number one reason, and this one's not deep, it's not crazy, it's the number one reason is loose skin. If you lose 100 pounds in, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, there is an enormous fear of loose skin. That is probably one of the biggest showstoppers for people holistically. When I look at whether you're old, young, doesn't matter your demographic, male, female, that problem is massive for people. They do not want loose skin. So that might be the obvious one that we can kind of get out of the way early. And I'll do my best to kind of go back over this stuff too as the live stream progresses. We'll kind of go more in depth though on maybe a different perspective on these issues. Here's one that virtually nobody thinks about. And this is kind of where we're going to kick this thing off. When you lose 100 pounds in, let's say, half a year, you now have to rethink and adapt to your new self-image. Now, this problem here is something that you guys might have. It's a subconscious thing. It usually is not one that we're consciously aware of, but we have to stop and think. You're going to look vastly different. Before I went live, I literally was scrolling through social media and I saw this lady who she had lost over 100 pounds. So the initial image is of her in her like workout gear. She's got a crop top on, and then she has some text going, right? And I can't remember exactly what she was talking about. I was half paying attention, but the image goes from her today to her in the past, whatever, when, a year ago, whatever, before she lost her weight. And it was her going through clothes. She's shopping for clothes and someone's recording her. I don't know who it is. And when you see the image, the person is approaching her from the back, so you can't see her face. And when she turns around, she kind of smiles and chuckles. And then it flashes back to where she is currently, right? How she looks now. The before and after of those two women, they might as well be two different people. She looks so vastly different now that she's lost her 100 plus pounds versus when she was obese, that they might as well be two different people. Now, typically we look at that as a good thing. That's a positive thing, right? Like, yeah, she does look better. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We could play the game of, oh, she was beautiful, then we could play that game. But the reality is, scientifically speaking, aesthetically speaking, and even just from a man's point of view, and it's not about that, but I'm just saying she looks better. If we don't lie to ourselves, I think we can all agree that obesity is not attractive. So she looked better. But what does that better come with? What does looking better actually come with in real life? We have to consider our self-image and how that self-image is going to impact how we go throughout life. One of the biggest showstoppers for people who want to lose 100 pounds, that is a subconscious thing, right? Most people are not aware of this, is your personal self-image and how you interact and how you deal with that as you go through life. That is a huge problem, okay? One of the things I want you guys to think about, if you've been following our content, especially lately, we've been talking a lot about large amounts of weight loss, especially as we're approaching the end of the year, talking about New Year's and what you want to achieve. And we've got our challenge coming up. And there may be some things in the back of your mind, and you can't put your finger on it. You want to do it. It sounds good, but there's something holding you back, right? And my goal today is to see if maybe we can identify that something. So rethinking and adapting to your new self-image. That is a big problem. And that might be a reason why you don't want to lose weight. Here's another one. Shifting dynamics in relationships with the friends, families, colleagues, spouses, random people that are just walking down the street. You're at the mall, you're at the bus stop, you're at the airplane terminal. You're just interacting in this 3D world. Those dynamics, the dynamics of how you interact in this world are going to change. They are. It doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, if you're old or if you're young. When you go from being obese to being either maybe like an average size or a fit size or athletically toned, you are going to have a different interaction in this world with people. The dynamics of your relationships will shift. I was listening to, what's that dude's name? Keith Lee, the food critic, Keith Lee, right? And I think he was on Shannon Sharp's show. Okay. So he was talking about how he met his wife. And his wife used to come into, I guess, a play. I don't know. I don't remember the story that well. I don't be half paying attention. Sometimes I just put stuff on, just as background noise when I want to turn my brain off. But he met his wife somewhere at work or something. And she would come into the place and he would see her and they would interact. And it was cool. She was like one of the guys. Men really do like when we can have interactions with women and they're just one of the guys, right? They don't got to step on eggshells. There's no strong lust or desire. You're just a human being. You say cool things. We have fun. Cool. Right. So that's how he looked at his wife. One day she came into the place, wherever, work, wherever, wearing like workout gear or something like that. Something form fitting is what I got from what he was saying. And he was able to see her physique. And from that point, the interaction changed. His thought process about her changed. Everything changed because his perception of her changed. He saw something he liked. That happens when you lose a large amount of weight, especially as a woman. If imagine going through life with an extra 100 pounds on you. And if you have never been an average or a slim size as a woman, the interaction that you're going to have with men is going to vastly change. It doesn't matter what your experience with men has been up until this point. If it's been from the standpoint of somebody who's obese, when you lose that weight, it's going to vastly change. So that is a problem for a lot of people. That is a problem. It is something we don't talk about at all. Once again, this happens with men and women. With women, it's a little bit more, I would say, palatable, or it's more in your face. But it also happens with men as well. Men get looks, comments from women, don't understand why, what they're saying. It's almost like being socially awkward. You're experiencing a lifestyle that you've never experienced. You're experiencing attention that you've never had before. That is something that you've got to wrestle with. It's not just, look at all this attention. If you go from, think about when you were younger and you were already starting, maybe you were already starting to get bigger, or maybe you were already bigger. Think about the mindset changes that you had to develop in order to interact in the world you were in at your size. Feeling less desirable, feeling like the butt of every joke, having negative attention on you all of the time. And then think about how you warped reality in order to deal with that. Right now, in real time, when it's happening, you might be cognizant of it, but that might have been 30, 40 years ago. You might not remember that shift. You've been the way you are for so long, you don't remember. So having to go to a new place, and trust me, I have this experience as well. Like a lot of you guys probably don't know. I mean, I'm 6'6". I've always been very tall. So I was never the obese guy, but I got a lot of attention from being tall. And what it caused me to do was develop an ability to ignore people. I drown them out. I don't pay attention because people are always, and it's not good attention. It's not like, oh, they look at you like you're a circus clown. They look at you like, what in the world? And they say the craziest stuff. Like people say crazy stuff. So I learned how to shut all that out. And then what's crazy is, me and my boys, we'd be going to the mall, we'd be going to the movies, whatever. And they'd be like, hey, Chris, that girl's looking at you. That girl is, giving you attention, or that girl is whatever. And I'd be like, what girl? I didn't even see a girl. What girl? So I had to develop this ability to drown out my environment because it was just so annoying going outside and being around people and them constantly like looking at you, talking about you. I mean, there would be people literally right next to me. It's obvious I can see and hear them. And they would just be talking about me like I wasn't there. Look at that guy. He's so tall. Oh my God. Whatever. Okay. So we got to think about that. And we have to think about what life is going to be like after. What is it going to be like? Now, most people, once again, this is more of a subconscious thing. Most people don't think about this ahead of time. They only experience it after the fact. What I'm looking to do today is figure out, is this part of the reason why you're afraid to make the change? Subconsciously. You guys are going to have to kind of do a deep dive and figure that out for yourself. Everybody's different. We're all affected by different things. But is that part of what's holding you back? I don't know. What's another point? Maintaining weight loss and navigating plateaus. There is a major fear of gaining it all back. Chris, what if I lose the 100 pounds and I gain it all back? Well, that's a problem because that means that everything that you're going to do is going to be a waste of time. Who wants to lose 100 pounds just to gain it all back? What's the point? Not to mention, if you lose 100 pounds just to gain it all back, the amount of impact that has on your body. I'm going to tell you guys something that you probably rarely will hear. It is better to just not lose the weight. If you're going to lose 100 pounds just to gain it all back, it's better not to lose the weight. Why? Because the burden and the stress on the body will probably cause new problems. I don't know if you guys have ever thought about that consciously. Maybe you have. Maybe you have that fear, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's a problem. That might be a reason why you don't want to do this. Is that your reason? I don't know. Only you can answer that question. We'll have to dive a little deeper into that later, but if that's your reason, you need to understand that. Because look, at the end of the day, we have all the tools in the world. Like, you're not overweight. You're not dealing with obesity because you don't know how to fix it. You might not have an education or understanding of how to do it the most efficient way possible, but there are options out there, right? So there's reasons why you haven't done it. It could be that none of the options resonate with you that you have found so far. That could be a reason. But there is a reason. It's not as if there's not a solution. We've been seeing transformation videos ever since the internet existed. It was a trend to talk about, I used to be 200 pounds and now I'm 135 pounds and I'm so healthy, right? And transformation videos and the music and the motivation. Here's a big one that kind of coincides with what I said earlier, why you shouldn't lose 100 pounds. Here's a big one. Dealing with lingering insecurities, emotional vulnerabilities, post-weight loss. We allow our insecurities to drive us. Why do we allow fear and insecurities to drive us? That we've been taught to do that. It is not a natural evolution of humans to allow fear to drive them. Fear is a tool for very specific reasons. It is okay to be fearful of a fire, for example, right? But that fear is not to control and manipulate our life holistically. It's just so that we can overcome that dangerous thing, that dangerous situation, or to understand how to create safety mechanisms. Fear is designed to help to inspire innovation, advancement. It is not designed to be a buffer that you don't get out of. Fear is an amazing tool that has been given to us that we're using improperly. But the reality is, there are going to be these lingering insecurities because you've been living in your body for X amount of time. You know what's crazy? Being overweight, it becomes who you are. You guys understand that? One of the things my brother used to tell me all the time was it was his identity. It was part of his identity, a big part of his identity. We used to work, me and Steven, we've worked together a lot. One of his nicknames was Big Black. Why? Because he was 400 pounds and he was a black guy. That's part of his identity, Big Black. They would call him a big old teddy bear. One of the appeal that women that were interested in him had was how big he was. Big teddy bear, big, big soft giant, whatever. And so we start to identify who we are with those things, those insecurities, and that blurring of the lines of who you are and where you are right now. That happens to all of us. It's just what happens. Okay. So we have to be cognizant of those things. What will be a good exercise for you guys is to write down, if you're like, let's say you have not lost the weight yet, write down some of the insecurities you think you might have. Write down some of the insecurities that you think. Where will you be emotionally vulnerable? Write that down ahead of the weight loss and see how it feels when you talk about it, when you think about it, and that will tell you the weight that particular thing has on you and what type of energy you should put into maybe rectifying that. Okay. But the reality is this. That's a problem. Yeah. It's not necessarily inconsequential. It's something that we have to think about. All right. Another problem, setting and pursuing new meaningful goals after achieving the weight loss. Here's another crazy problem. Do you guys understand that if weight loss has been your thing for the past 5-10 years, let's say for the past 5-10 years, it's end of the year, we're moving into the new year, and what's your thing? What's your New Year's resolution? I'm going to get this weight off. Imagine if every single year for almost a decade, your thing is getting the weight off. So then now that once again becomes a part of your identity. So if you were to get the weight off, now you got to have a new thing. You got to come up with a new thing. You're comfortable with your thing. Weight loss is my thing. Every year I focus on weight loss. Well, let's be honest. If every year your primary focus is losing weight, you're not focused on anything else. You're not progressing in other areas. You don't have to challenge yourself. You kind of get complacent and you understand your weight loss struggle. You've probably talked about your weight loss struggle with friends and family. They know your weight loss struggle. It's an opportunity to play the victim card. It is a comforting place, right? Like, we're used to this. This is status quo. Everybody knows at the end of the year, my next thing, January, I'm in the gym. By February, I'm falling off. By March, April, I'm complaining about my weight and complaining about how I need to get back in. Then, the summer hits and now I'm motivated again. And then I fall off again, right, during the fall time, and the cycle starts all over. Everybody's involved. We all know you have your support and and you're complacent, and that's your thing. And to switch that up, to change that up, to mess that up, that means you got to work on new goals. You got to learn something new. If anybody is in the like dating market, and you guys been in the dating market for a while, usually you get burnt out, and eventually you're like, bro, like I am tired of going through the process of meeting someone new and what's your favorite color and what do you do for work and what are your goals. You get tired of that. You get tired of constantly having to learn someone new. Okay, so the same way that we get tired of having to learn somebody new and we want that compatibility with just that one person, we know what they like, we know what they don't like. That happens in our wellness journey as well. We get complacent. You're used to going through your weight loss journey. What would happen if you had to deal with a new problem? I got to learn new things. I got to get a new group of friends. I got to develop new habits. And that's a problem. We don't want to do that. That's a reason not to lose weight. You guys might say it's silly, but what I'm telling you is from what I know. Okay. Redefining relationships with food. Redefining here, this is a huge one. It's in our face, but we're not aware of it. Well, the first thing we got to understand is we're emotional eaters. So if we're emotional eaters, that means we get comfort in eating. That's why we call it comfort food. Everybody loves comfort food. Everybody loves comfort food. Why? Because it's basically a drug. It's a drug that makes you feel good. It's a drug that makes you feel safe. It's like a mom's hug. It's like a warm kiss on your forehead. It's like cuddling with your lover. Let's keep it a buck, y'all. This is all true. This is what comfort food does. This is why it's so addictive. What would happen if you had to let comfort food go? What would happen if you had to change your relationship with food? That's a problem. What are you going to use as a coping mechanism if it's not your comfort food? That's a problem. Do you want to deal with that? What is on the other side of comfort food? What does that look like? Is it fun? Is it enjoyable? Will you like it? Will you be happy? All valid questions because you use food as a coping mechanism for everything. When you're happy, when you're sad, when you get a raise, when you get fired, when someone gets married, when a new baby is born, for your birthday, for an anniversary. We use food for everything. We are emotional eaters. What happens when you have to deal with food in a different way? That's a problem. Change the word food and put husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or child in that slot. What happens when you have to deal with your husband, your wife, your child, your friend group in a different way? What if they're your coping mechanism? It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you got to ask yourself that question. How is this weight loss or how is this wellness change going to impact the relationships I have with these people or these things? Some of us know, or at least some of us assume, that it's going to have a negative impact. If you have a thought in your mind that me going through this wellness journey is going to have a negative impact with my relationship with food and my friends and my family, that might be a major problem for you. Is it possible that that's the reason why you have not got the weight off? Because you know that things are going to have to change between you and your coping mechanism. And you're not ready to deal with that. You don't want to deal with that. That's a problem. I don't know. Only you guys can answer these questions. I'm just putting it out there. I'm putting out what I know and what I've experienced and what I've heard. Here's something that's a left fielder. And I hear this a lot because I get to work with people who have lost 100 pounds and then they decide that, you know, they're gonna start a YouTube channel or they're gonna create a program or whatever. A lot of times when I talk to people who have gone through this wellness journey and are doing this thing like wellness coaching or whatever, I say, well, was this always the plan? Well, what? No, Chris, I actually had no plan to do this. I never planned to do this. I was losing weight for me. What happened is people started asking me for advice. People started asking me, what did I do? And we see this in spades in our Facebook group and our AHA community group. People, if you post a picture of before and after, I've lost 100 pounds, I did it in 5 months, the comment section is going to blow up. How did you do it? What did you do? What advice can you give me? Emails, DMs, phone calls, texts, whatever. People are going to blow you up. There is a expectation that comes along with you sharing your journey. People are going to expect you to help them, to give them advice. Now that sounds like a good thing, but it's also tiring. And it's also a lot of attention. Okay? It's overwhelming. It's daunting. It's all those things. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe you don't want no parts of that. Maybe you don't want the responsibility just for the simple fact that you're unsure of yourself. If I lose all this weight, what's going to happen if I gain it back? Imagine losing 100 pounds and then a year later, you've gained it all back. Now, throughout that year that you had it off, people are asking you for advice and you're telling them this and you're telling them that, and you're creating programs and you're creating all of this energy around your weight loss. It's starting to become your new identity. And then you gain it all back. How embarrassing. How shameful. You allowed yourself to be vulnerable in front of the world, and then they get to see you fall flat in your face. That's a major problem. That's a big problem for people. Because when people lose this weight, we start to pedestalize them because we think losing weight is such a big thing, right? It's so hard to do and no one's ever to do it. And then when you're able to do it, you're like, oh my goodness. So we've made a big thing out of losing weight. So when people do it, it is a big thing. And if you fall off, that's a big thing too. You may have that fear. I know I've had people tell me to my face, Chris, what if I gain it all back? I don't know. Maybe that's a problem for you. It's a problem constantly having to face the discomforts of continuous growth. It is. It's a problem. It's not an easy life. Life's always evolving and changing. You're constantly growing and doing, and you got to deal with all of that. Isn't it easier to just stay in your comfort zone, the place of complacency? It's comfortable there. It's easy there. Deal with the demon that you know. Y'all have heard that before. Deal with the devil that you know. You know obesity. You know the problems that come along with it. You've probably even, at some point of wanting to give up, you've probably managed to convince yourself that these aren't that big of a deal. Like, I could deal with this. You know what? At least I don't have this disease, or at least I don't have that disease. You'll kind of like trick yourself and be like, I should feel blessed that this is my only problem. You'll play those mind games with yourself. It's interesting because, like, when I was very young, there was a song that came out. There was a very, very, very popular rapper at the time. His name was Biggie Smalls, he ended up changing his name to Notorious B.I.G. because I think he got sued for using the name Biggie Smalls. It belonged to somebody else. Tidbit, nice little tidbit. But one of the things Biggie was famous for saying was, more money, more problems. Y'all remember that? More money, more problems. Now I was very young. I'm a adolescent, maybe a preteen. And I remember hearing that. Now, I come from a family that when my parents were married, We lived a middle-class life, but it was an illusion. My dad was going into debt. So we could kind of put the facade up, but internally we were struggling. And then, of course, they got divorced. And at the time when I heard Biggie say this, my parents were divorced and I was living with my mom, and things were not, we didn't even have the facade. Like, we were poor. We were, people were giving us things to help us get along, which was a blessing. And I appreciate that experience, by the way. So, but I'm just trying to explain my mindset at the time. I was thinking to myself, more money, more problems. How? How, Sway? How is more money problematic? It wasn't until I started my business, the AHA brand, and we started to become successful, that I started to understand what more money, more problems meant. I didn't get it until I was successful in my business. It took me to have a different perspective to understand what Biggie was saying. But I'll tell you one thing, when Biggie died, he was a very young man. So the more money, more problems thing was just simply a snippet of his life up until that point. It didn't tell the complete picture. And this is the problem sometimes with holding on to people's ideology and what they say and applying it to your life holistically. Maybe it makes sense for a period of time. It did for me for a period of time. But I went past that experience very quickly and I reframed it. And this is the message today. More money, different problems. That is now my mindset. It's not more money, more problems. It's more money, different problems. Now, how does that translate to your weight loss? Better physique, healthier body, different problems. Your problem will no longer be obesity. Your problem will no longer be not getting attention. Your problem will no longer be hiding in the shadows. You're going to have different problems. And what I decided, where I made my shift, where I grew beyond where Biggie was at that time in his life, was I said, you know what? Give me them problems. More money, different problems. I want those problems because I want the problems that come with the outcomes. I want the problems that comes with my personal expansion and growth. I want the problems that come with new challenges. I want the problems that come with me not being in my comfort zone. We are human beings. We are designed in the same way everything else is designed in this world. If you look at water, water has to flow. When water becomes stagnated, it becomes stale. It becomes bacteria-ridden. It becomes toxic. We are water. Do you think water ever thinks, man, I don't want to flow? I don't want to deal with all the twists, the turns, the rocks in my way. All water does is it just adapts and evolves. And it keeps going. And that's what keeps water healthy. Bruce Lee said, be water. Continue to adapt, flow, move, evolve, face new challenges. That's how we stay healthy. That's how we stay strong. That is how we reverse the death process, because when you are stagnated, you're sitting there in your obesity and you're worried about, oh, well, what's going to happen if I have to change how I interact with food? Who cares? It's a new problem. You know, there was a time in America where, or just in the world, where exploration was the thing. Everybody wanted to be an explorer. Just like nowadays, everybody wants to be a crypto billionaire, or everybody wants to be an influencer on YouTube, or everybody wants to be a rapper or whatever. There was a time when everybody wanted to be an explorer. The mindset of the masses was adventure, exploration, And what came from that was an explosion in the United States of new adventures, new books, new inventions. Like life, it was the probably one of the golden ages of the United States, if not the golden age of the United States. We had more money coming into this country than we knew what to do with, literally. Literally, the government would have talks like, what do we do with all this surplus of abundance? I'm okay with that problem. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Through exploration and adventure and flowing and butting heads with new challenges in America, we flourished. So what was the new problem? What do we do with the abundance? Oh, I'm okay with that problem. If we allow our problems to stare us down and say, listen, hey, listen, if you start losing this weight, people are going to look at you different. If you lose this weight, people are going to prop you up. If you lose this weight, you might damage the relationship with your husband or your wife. If we allow the fear of problems, if we allow the fear of what if to stop us, we will become stale, we will become stagnant, we will become bacteria ridden. That's part of the reason why we have obesity anyway. We've already allowed these things to fear us into a corner. Or you can use fear as a tool to motivate, to inspire. Innovation all comes from fear of lack, fear of failure, fear of harm. All of these things motivate. So we need to understand how to use the tools that we were given. There's a famous quote. I'm going to say it, but I want you guys to understand, apply it to you in whatever way you need to. All right? For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind. And it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. It doesn't matter what your background is. You could be an atheist. Take the quote. Take the word. Take the scripture and apply it. Whatever takes the place of God or whatever the case may be. Don't get caught up in that. The reality is we were not designed, whether you believe God created us or the Big Bang, we were not designed to be fearful. There's nothing that we've accomplished as humankind, or as the human species. There's nothing that we've accomplished because we were petrified by fear. Our power is in love, and our power comes from a sound mind, meaning, okay, there's a tiger outside. Now we can sit here and be fearful and hope the tiger goes away because he's hungry. And if we go out there, he's going to eat us. Or with the sound mind, we can innovate and we can think of a way to solve his problem and our problem. You might think, well, just kill him, Chris. That might be a fear response. Just kill him. Get it over with. Well, he's just hungry. What if we were able to develop a food source for the tiger? And we could feed him something that would nourish him and satisfy him. And instead of killing him, we befriend the tiger. And now instead of the tiger looking to kill us, he protects us. That's the type of innovation that comes from love and a sound mind. Okay, it's just an example. But the point is, we are not here to be petrified by fear. We all know that if you're obese, losing 100 pounds, it's a good thing holistically. Don't allow your fear of losing the weight. It doesn't matter why. And we've gone over many different reasons why. And I think they're reasonable reasons why. And they're reasons that are real for people. But don't allow that to stop you. If when we look at history and we look at people who were great, in history or even of modern day, those are people who saw a problem. Okay, it could have been their own problem or someone else's problem. That problem was enshrouded in fear. And instead of running away or being petrified by it, they said, no, we're going to overcome this in spite of. That's what it's all about. Think about it, y'all. Who great in your life or in history ever did anything in a fearful state? Anything of greatness where they stayed in fear the entire time and allowed fear to guide them? It just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. You know, in life, things need to be challenging. Things need to be difficult to a degree. How difficult it is or how challenging you allow it to be, that's up to you. Everybody has their own tolerance for these things. But what I could say is once you learn the key to overcoming your fear or your obstacle or whatever it is, you'll feel like, man, that wasn't that hard. Why? Because there's nothing to fear but fear itself. That's the reality of it. Alice in Wonderland. Everybody fears this wizard of Oz. And then you pull back the curtain and he's this imp. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. I'm not saying that your fears aren't valid. What I'm saying is fear is a tool to motivate, inspire, and create expansion. It is not designed to paralyze you. Okay. That's my message for Christmas. There are many of you all who have been going through this cycle. You've gotten very complacent. Your weight loss journey, your health journey is like your child. We like victimhood. It is promoted in society. It is encouraged. Stop being a victim. And I'm going to tell you why. When you are a victim, everybody else is in control. How do you get victimized? Someone else has to be in control. There is nobody who is being victimized who is in control. If you're in control of yourself, your thoughts, and your situation, who's going to victimize you? If you have complete control, the victimization only comes when someone else has your control. So if we think about it that way, then we can see why being a victim is not a good thing. It means that you either lack control or you lost control. The goal is to regain your control so that you're navigating your experiences in life so that you can create the reality that you want. But in order to do that, you have to be in control, and that means you cannot be a victim. We've all played the victim card at some point in our life, myself included. I still pull the card out sometimes. I still do. I haven't completely mastered it, if I'm being honest. And I think that's important for us to be honest with ourselves. But I will say this. Whereas in the past, I would sulk and I would use the card and I would try to get, emotion, like comfort from people. I don't do that anymore. I allow myself to experience that emotion, that fear, that thought, whatever. And then I figure out what can I do to not experience this? Because my goal is to have control over my future. And if I can control my future more succinctly, that means I can pave the way for my lineage. And that's just part of my motivation. I can also inspire others, which is why we have the AHA brand. And by the way, I want to thank you all for all the encouraging words that you all say, the comments that you leave. There was a time when I responded to every comment. I very rarely respond to comments now, but I want you guys to know that I typically do read them. I'm not saying I see them all, but I do typically read them. And y'all's encouraging words are fuel for me. when you guys talk about your experience and the benefit you got. And, you know, Chris, you said this one thing in your live stream, and that really touched me. Like, you guys don't know how motivating that is for me. That helps give me a spark when I'm not feeling good, when I'm feeling down. It's not easy to be a leader or be in a leadership role all the time. And being able to see that something that you're doing is inspiring people, helping people, that means a lot. And I appreciate y'all. I want to give you guys an opportunity again to join our 21-day fasting challenge, because you may be dealing with some of these problems, right? There might be something I said today might have resonated with you and be like, yeah, Chris, that's me. That's the reason why I have difficulty losing weight. That's the reason why, I've gained weight back. You hit the nail on the head. Well, if I did hit the nail on the head, understand this. If I understand your problem maybe better than you do, I or my team or our brand might be a good opportunity for you to learn how to overcome that problem. That is the benefit of coaching. That is the benefit of expertise. You know, in modern times, professionals have taken advantage of the title. People who we look at as experts, they've taken advantage of their status. Expertise doesn't have the same resonance that it once did. But that's not to discard everyone's expertise. It just means you have to be diligent and understand who to listen to and who not to listen to. That's the key, okay? Do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because some experts are slime balls, Dr. Fauci, yeah, I'll say that. Dr. Fauci, expert, absolute slime ball. He should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. When I was talking about the whole COVID thing, don't want to get banned off YouTube, so we're not going to go deep. But when I was talking about the whole COVID thing, I got blasted by certain segments of my community that was saying I was going to harm people with my information. My information was dangerous because I understood what was happening. And because I was trying to help other people by telling the truth and being genuine, just like I always have been, I'm getting blasted. Well, where are the people saying, hey, Chris, you know what? You were right about that. We apologize. You'll never get it. No one's ever going to apologize for trying to tear you down or cancel you, because it's all emotion. It's all emotion. It's all about right now. But see, I don't move in that energy. I don't move in that emotional space. I approach things in power, utilizing love and a sound mind. So when you guys, some of you guys, not you guys, but some of you all in YouTube land said I was dangerous and I'm going to hurt people with my information and all that other nonsense, I said, you know what? It's okay. They don't know any better. They know not what they do. It is true. They don't. I needed to adopt that mindset in order to get past it, because I honestly was upset. I was mad. Why is it that somebody who you've trusted me for, 4 or 5 years, whatever it's been up until this point, but now all of a sudden, because Fauci says XYZ, Chris is just wrong and you need to stay in your lane and all the other nonsense, y'all, some of y'all, not y'all, but you know what I'm saying. YouTube people said to me, I said, you know what? They just have toxic thinking. It's okay. But time has a funny way of showing the truth. Time always shows the truth. Here's your job. If you were one of those people that were attacking me for saying what I was saying because you're following the wisdom of the expert Fauci, who is evil, and I just hope, I pray that you all never listen to this man again. The goal here is to learn from your mistakes. This is why apologizing is so important. You don't apologize. For me, I couldn't care less. I don't even know most of you people who said that crazy stuff. You need to apologize for yourself so that you can identify, I made a mistake and I need to develop as a person and I need to grow. Expert advice is a huge benefit if you have discernment and you can know who to listen to and who not to listen to. I don't know everything, but one thing I work on doing is developing the ability to discern who I should listen to and who I should not listen to. We all have an internal system that will teach us like what's right and what's wrong. Call it a gut feeling, whatever the case may be. So if you guys can start to nourish that gut feeling, you'll make better decisions, which means you're going to get better outcomes. Funny enough, by utilizing fasting as a tool to lose weight and to get healthy and to transition your diet and to do all these things that you want to do, it does also nourish that second mind, that gut feeling that we all get. And as you nourish that second mind or that gut feeling, you make better decisions. And this is part of the reason why when I tell you guys it's bigger than weight loss, like you might not be thinking about this at all. You might just be thinking about the aesthetics. Maybe your blood pressure good, your sugar's good, your cholesterol's good. The only thing you got to deal with is the obesity. You're not thinking about how that obesity is impacting your thinking and your judgment and your outcomes as a human being in this world. That might not be where your mind is. That's okay. That's where I come in. That's where our team comes in. Our goal is to say, okay, you're here for weight loss. Cool. We're going to show you how to do that. Here's some other things that you might want to put some time and attention on as you go through this journey. Here's some pitfalls that might be ahead of you that you want to look out for. Also, here's how to kind of navigate those pitfalls so that you don't have to bang your head. Sometimes people ask me, Chris, what's the point of joining your challenges? What's the benefit? The benefit is the intimate interaction you get with us as well as the other people in the community. The benefit is the third mind that develops when two or more are gathered. There is a third mind that is created. There is a synergy that's created. And that synergy allows you to move further, faster. You can't even predict what you get from the synergy of two minds. Because it's a whole new mind that is created. And if you know, you know. If you don't know, come join us. We do our best to make this thing as affordable as possible. $98 to join the challenge for the basic registration. Plus, you have the option to pay in full, which means that you can spread it out over the course of, 8 weeks. So I think it ends up being like $28 a week, every 2 weeks or something. I don't know, whatever it is. Hey, I appreciate the comment. Dr. Fauci is not evil. He's been in position for decades. Trump XP and his tribe started that nonsense. No, they didn't. I knew Fauci was evil before Trump ever ran for president because I've actually researched Fauci. Fauci's not new. You're right. He's been on the scene for a long time. If you are stating what you're stating from a place of not knowing, if you have not researched Fauci's past, if you've not researched what he's been involved with, if you've not researched the impact that he has had on our community as a whole with other things that he's done, I can understand where you're coming from. I can even understand the argument that he thought he was doing the right thing. Here's the problem. As an expert, you cannot keep making the same problems over and over and over again and say it was an accident. At some point, it becomes intentional. We cannot use that argument for him anymore. Also, I would assume that you probably aren't familiar with listen, do some research based on the information that's coming out about COVID and the vaccine, the protocols that were put in place. Do some independent research about those things. Do some independent research about what the recommendations that he made. And I want you to look at what other scientists have said now that the dust has settled. That's all I'm asking. That is all I'm asking. Okay, you're saying that you have researched him for years and you're familiar with him. Then all I can say is, are you turning a blind eye? Like the argument that the recommendations that he made during COVID were somehow helpful for us or beneficial for us, what leg do you have to stand on with all of the research that has come out after the fact. The hundreds of scientists have said these protocols were nonsense. Like, there's always two sides to every story. But even if we look at it logically, if we say, okay, no, the masks that they were telling everybody to wear were going to block the virus. Here's what I told you guys in real time. The masks that everybody is being told to wear will not stop a virus. That's not even, we don't need science for that. That was obviously not right. But the recommendation was made anyway. Stand 6 feet, put up plastic barricades, do all of this stuff. Y'all, if you are still of the mind that that made sense and you would do it again, I highly encourage you all. Take another look at it. Look at, I get it. You have an idea. You feel like Fauci was right. He was doing the right thing. At very least, look at the contrary belief, at least. In order to fortify your own argument and your own experience, at least look at what the other side is saying. There's always two sides to a coin. And then compare, contrast what other people are saying outside of like mainstream experts that cultivated this whole thing, and just compare and contrast and look at your own personal experience and try not to be biased. That's all I ask. If you do that and you come back and you say, Chris, I still think Fauci was a good guy, I'm not going to argue with you. We have a difference of opinion. And here's another thing. People need to be okay with having a difference of opinion. People need to be okay with having discussion about what they believe and what they don't believe, who's right, who's wrong. You know why? This is a problem in America, especially. Open debate is not a real thing. I'm supposed to demonize you because you have a different point of view. You're supposed to demonize me because I have a different point of view. You know how many people have said, Chris, I'm never listening to your content again because you said one thing I don't like. Well, first of all, okay, that's fine. But why is it like that? If you've been listening to me for 5 years, 10 years, or whatever the case may be, and you've agreed with everything up until this point, you'll cast all that aside because of one thing that you don't agree with? That's nonsense. That's irrational. I have no ill will towards anybody who thinks Fauci's a good guy. I question it because I've done research that says to the contrary, but I don't have any ill will towards them. Everybody has their thoughts and opinions, and even people who are doing ultimate evil in this world think they're doing good. It's just a different kind of good than what I would think is good. You know? But we need to learn how to disagree. That's all. So I don't have any problem with your point of view. I don't have any problem with, what your beliefs are. I see you said you're still wearing the masks. That's fine. Here's my perspective on the mask. First of all, I hope you're wearing a mask with the filter, the respiratory mask, the one that's going to, I think it has to be like an N9 something rated, N95, something like that rated mask. Because if you're not utilizing a mask of that level, then you're not getting the outcomes that you think you're getting. Okay. Those when I was in construction, in order for us to wear respirators, we had to be fitted for them. Number one, they had to be fitted. Number two, we had to get we had to go to the doctor and get an approval to use them. The reason why is because they restrict oxygen, they restrict airflow, so that becomes a problem. Sometimes the solution that we're using is a bigger problem than the results of the solution we're using is a bigger problem than the thing that we're trying to resolve in the first place. Sometimes the medicine we take can have worse side effects than what we're dealing with now. Right? If you're dealing with a cough and you take a medication that says it's going to soothe the cough, but it could cause anal bleeding, the anal bleeding might be a bigger problem than the cough. I don't know. And all I'm saying is restricting your airflow like that for the amount of time people were doing it was actually making you more susceptible. It would make you it would compromise your immune system more than it would help. So, and I will say too, you've never got COVID. I never got COVID. You wear the mask. I didn't wear the mask. So I don't know. Or did you not get COVID because you wore the mask? Did I not get COVID because I didn't wear the mask? I don't know. That's debatable. Sometimes we have to look at a large group of people. So maybe we have to say out of 1,000 people who did and did not wear the mask, who had the better outcomes? And then we can start kind of debating which methodology makes the most sense. But I would say that based on what you're stating, the fact that you are still wearing the mask, then either you have not heard the contrary side that says that wearing the mask were harmful, or you simply just don't agree with that. Either way, it's fine. But if you have not heard the other side, because there's always two sides to a coin, that said, no, the masks were more harmful than good, I would implore you. You seem like the type of person that likes to do research. Just research it. Just for your own sake, just for your own well-being. It's never good to only look at one side of things. I always do my best to look at both sides of the coin. And that has nothing to do with just Fauci and COVID. This is just in general. When I'm researching anything. So for example, if I have an idea about something, right? Like, I have a belief about something. Typically, depending on what you search, the algorithms are going to feed you what you believe already, because it's better for the algorithm. It'll keep you on the platforms longer. I will actively look for videos or content that are contrary to my belief. If I want to know what the other people think, what's the argument on the other side? Why are people saying this is not good or this is not right? That's just me. That's how I naturally roll. I don't think you can have an informed debate or conversation or opinion about something if you don't look at both sides. You don't want to ever live in an echo chamber. And I'm not speaking that directly to you, say that you live in an echo chamber, because I don't know. I don't know what you've researched. I'm just saying, generally speaking, this is for the edification of everybody else who's listening, because I can see that you're very stout in your belief, and that's fine. Okay. There's a lot of things that I don't talk about on this channel because I wonder how productive the conversation will be. I wonder if there's any value that can come from it. So sometimes I just don't say things. But when it came to like the COVID thing, I had to say something. I don't want you guys to be like, oh, I'm never going to listen to Chris again because we have this one thing we don't believe in. You know what I mean? People have been benefited from being in our challenges and being a part of the brand and listening to the content. So yes, I'm careful about certain things that I say that I think will agitate a large group of people, because I don't want you guys to shoot your own self in the foot. It's not for me. I don't care personally. If you ask my mom, she'll tell you I like to argue. That's my mom used to tell me. Chris likes to argue. She used to say I was going to be a lawyer. I love a good debate. I love two ideas clashing. That's entertainment for me. That's fun for me. As long as it's done in a healthy way. The problem is the internet tends to promote unhealthy discussion. Wouldn't you guys agree? If you go on Twitter, it's not healthy debate on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like it's very toxic. I don't like that. I don't move like that. So I don't purposely do things to create toxic discussions and environments. That being said, everybody's going to have their own opinion about everything. Okay. You should never assume that somebody that you like is going to have the same opinion about you about everything. That's just silly. We should assume that there's something this person's going to say or do that I don't agree with. You know why? Because we're individuals. That's what it's about. Being human beings, being individuals. That's how we innovate. That's how we grow, by having different points of view. And then also, if you guys go back to earlier in the discussion, I was talking about Biggie and he said more money, more problems. That was his perspective in that time up until that point. Maybe that was right for him. Me being me 20 years later or more, I no longer agree with that perspective. But at one point I did. There was a time when I did. So perspectives evolve. What's truly right? I do believe in universal truth. I do believe that there's certain things that are true and there's certain things that aren't. But there's a lot of things that are true at the same time. And they seem to oppose each other. That's the dynamic of the world we live in. What's a natural truth? Every day the sun comes up. It's a natural truth. It just is. There's really no debating it. Even if it's cloudy outside, even if it's dark, the sun's still up there, whether you could see it shining or not. Truth doesn't have to be debated. It doesn't have to be explained. We all know it resonates. No one's going to argue that the sun comes up every day. It wouldn't even be day without the sun. It would be night. So every day the sun comes out. That's just the way it works. And there's certain things that resonate. There's certain natural truths in this world. And there's, some things that are opinions. And then there's some people that have their own truths. And those all have their place, depending on the person and what's going on. All right. Hopefully I did rub some of y'all the wrong way tonight, because friction is the only way to get you to move sometimes. It's not good to live in frictionless environments, y'all. You don't want to live in echo chambers. If everybody around you always agrees with you, you need to get out of there. It is a place where you're going to die. Okay? We have to have people to challenge us. That's how we grow. And I want you guys to think about how you can challenge yourself as you move into 2025. What is a way that you could challenge yourself, move towards the fear, and not utilize it as something that's going to paralyze you, but use it as a way to inspire you, to change, to grow, and to get out of your comfort zone. More money, different problems. That's what I'm on right now, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, hit the like button for me, subscribe, and as always, the application of knowledge is power. I'll see you guys in the challenge. Links in the comment section. Peace.